on aviation and air pollution. So my first question is, what is your job at the KLM Air France group?
So I'm basically the country sales manager for Air France, KLM, and Delta in Switzerland and Liechtenstein. So basically, I'm legally responsible for all activities in the country, and I also manage the sales activities. And I lead a team of 15 people here in Switzerland, partly based in Zurich and partly based in Geneva, to cover the whole country.
And you are in Geneva?
I'm based in Geneva, yeah.
And then my second question is, what are the rates of ticket sales right now?
So that question, what do you mean by rates?
Like
example,
how many tickets are sold, right? Like how many tickets are being sold each day?
Wow, from Switzerland, wow, that's a question I cannot. It's quite let's say a question that we always communicate on the group level, not necessarily on country level and airline level. What I can say is that we are recovering basically from the COVID. We are recovering better and better. The only issue that we have is that we are missing a big part of our revenue, which is the corporate revenue. So leisure is quite steady. It's coming back and it's coming strongly, particularly with Easter or last time with winter and Christmas period. Also for summer holidays. But the corporate traffic is still lagging behind and not recovered from the pre-COVID levels.
Also, side question, are there like any spikes during like the holiday seasons, like Christmas, summer break, spring break? Are there any like spikes in ticket sales?
Yes, indeed. The way our pricing model are based, and that's a bit now for all airlines, but you can also see it for many other activities related to a variation of demand. The more demand you have, the more people come to have the same service, and then the prices go up, because if you didn't anticipate your travel, then you will come last, and then the ticket price will be more expensive. And of course, a lot of people want to travel in the same period.
Then I have, how is KLM/Air France helping like develop more new fuel efficient aircraft?
So basically, there are two ways to say it. First, we are not aircraft builders. We have Airbus, we have Boeing, Embraer that do it much better than we do. What we do is really selling transportation from point A to point B via our hubs in Paris and Amsterdam. But still, we in the aircrafts, when we ask for aircrafts, when we purchase aircrafts, we want things specific. And one of the specificities that we ask, of course, there is capacity. We need something like 250 seats inside it. We need to have economy seats. We need to have business class seats. But we also ask the constructors to manufacture aircrafts that have less CO2 print, meaning that compared to older generation, when we renew the aircraft, we ask them to be more fuel efficient or to reduce the noise hindrance. That's something that we do. That's something that we do. And basically, if you look at the next purchase that we made, for example, KLM will replace their Boeing 737 by Airbus 320 Neo. And when you look at former version compared to new version, because the development, the technology has evolved, you have aircraft that are more fuel efficient, like they can be up to 20 or 25% less fuel consumption for the same type of aircraft. So that's good for us. Indeed, that's good for the planet, because with the same type of traffic, you pollute less. Again, Air traffic, we know because we use fuel that we can pollute. That's a fact. That's a given fact. And when you look at the overall picture, air transport represents only 2% of the greenhouse gas effects. So it's less than even marine transportation or land transportation. But we don't take it for granted that we will remain at 2%, because what we all hope is that all transportation sectors, but also IT sectors, I mean, just the team's relationship that we have today now, it's not because we don't see it that there is no CO2 also burning energy and things like that. All human activities emit something. But so what we say is that, okay, we are 2% now, but we also know that in some countries where few people use air travel, will use more and more air travel because they are developing, and that's something positive, that they develop themselves, that they want to connect more with their families, that they want to connect more with their business. So maybe in India, in China, for example, and maybe in Africa also, those regions of the world where today you don't have too much air traffic moments. Well, it's already bigger, but it will grow even more. So we know that if we don't do anything, this 2% might be that it becomes much bigger. So we have to act now, and that's what we do. So as I said, first thing, when we order new aircrafts, we ask the constructors to do something that is more efficient, and also we contribute with our own aircrafts. There's also a part of Air France-KLM that is doing maintenance, not only for our own aircraft, but we have contracts where basically we have, for example, XXX Airways that has big aircrafts, and they give us the maintenance contract. And there we develop tools to be able to tell them with much more accuracy, you need to replace this part and this part, to be sure that then the aircraft works very properly, and then also has a better fuel consumption. And there are also things that we develop on the ground. For example, we used to have our aircrafts going and being pushed, by example, by what we call pushers, very strong machines that push the aircraft, and they were fueled with normal kerosene, so fuel. And here the idea is to remove fuel and to put them on electricity, so to have electric pusher. Small things like that, in the end, it also helps. And there are much more examples, but I think you have also a lot of questions. So
yeah. Then my next question is, what are the most drastic changes to the airplanes that are being developed for the KLM Air France fleet?
Basically, the idea there is to have lighter aircraft. So it's in terms of technology that they use. There's the aircraft in itself, but it's also us as airlines. Which kind of things do we put inside? Because inside, that's really up to airlines to say. And there we put also lighter seats, for example. We work on the way to have the same number of seats with lighter materials and things like that. We also we stopped giving press, like paper press, inside our aircraft. That makes a big change as well. And we also look at all the porcelain and things like that. Everything that we give to our customers for their lunch or dinner, we try to have something that is lighter. And also in the usage of liquids, we are really careful about that. So that there are the things we can do inside. And there are also things that we can think about. And there, I would like to share with you a project that we are doing with Delft University, so in the Netherlands. and that's a project that is called FlyV. I don't know if you saw that.
The Flying V, right?
The Flying V, yes.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, so basically here, it's really a partnership between KLM and the Delft University to think about type that is completely breaking all the conception that we have of a normal aircraft. You know, this tube with basically five L's, wings, sorry. And here the idea is really to say, okay, how can we think differently to reduce, again, this fuel consumption? Again, we think that between two generations, we can increase by minus 20% the CO2 print of those aircrafts. But it also comes to a moment when you need to think differently to be able to make this next step. And that's exactly the idea of the FlyV project. And I don't know if you saw, but there was a mock-up that was realized to see if it was properly taking off and landing, and it did. So yeah, it gives it fuels with ideas also to see what's possible. But it's a prototype, so again, it helps Airbus and Boeing to do things differently. And the idea, if we go, if it's a successful story, it's a long-term investment. So don't expect to see before 2040. And before that, there will be other things which we collaborate. There's also the green aircraft of Airbus. Maybe you heard about.
The net zero?
No, it's hydrogen. The technology will be to replace kerosene by hydrogen.
Yeah.
And that's aiming at 2035. And that would be more for medium mode. And then you would have for the short haul or even the let's say the training the pilots. Here it would even be very small aircrafts, but it would be fully electric. So you see, in terms of aircrafts, there are different ways. Really training the pilots with electric, short and medium haul with hydrogen by 2035, and long haul. That's what we are looking with the 5E for 2040.
What is the current most efficient airplane in the fleet right now?
Well, I would say the opposite. Let's say with the COVID, we took the opportunity to phase out the ones that were the least efficient. Meaning for KLM, for example, it was the 747 that we stopped flying, and for Air France, for example, it was also the A340 and the A380, which and all those aircraft had 4 engines, so there was much more fuel consumption. They are all out now. So we have newer aircrafts, and for the ones that are still not up to the level that we want, we are replacing them. So as I said, 737s, that's the aircraft that you take to go in all Europe, basically. They will be replaced by a massive investment plan on A320 Neos and 321 Neos. That will be for KLM, from Transavia, and also for Air France. And the new ones that we had, that we received, the A350 or the A220, the smaller ones, those ones are really targeting, and they are effectively having a minus 20% CO2 reduction. So we are on the good path, and really fleet renewal for us is one of the three main pillars to reduce our CO2 print.
Okay. What is the current? What do they do with the money from the carbon offset fund from the tickets? Like, you know how when they sell tickets, there's like an option for a carbon offset donation?
Yeah.
What do they do with that money?
So the money is directly sent to our partners. So if you do it with Air France, it will be Vishada, and it will go to Colombia, to an association there, preserving and replanting an ecosystem. with local people involved in the project. And for KLM, it's KLM CO2 Zero, and that's a program kind of the same, but it's in Panama this time, where they replant trees. So here we have full documentation available on the website, and the idea is really to have projects, locally fed projects, where the money goes, but it doesn't stay in our. We are just the collectors, and then we give to partners, certified partners. EcoAct, I don't know if you ring the bell, but it's a certificator of those kind of projects. And we also have another thing on the side that is called trip and tree, where basically not as a corporate, but as a consumer, normal consumer, you want to plant trees. That's something that is possible with miles or with cash, and this you can do when you want to book your ticket or when you want to check in for your flight. And here, this trip and tree, we're also trying, and maybe you know something. We're trying to have also local projects for each country. So we are actively looking for a project of reforestation also in Switzerland.
Okay. This is like this is a question, but also a suggestion. Why don't they just make the tickets more expensive so less people would fly? So what I'm thinking is if they make the tickets more expensive, less people would fly, but the people that still are flying would like balance out. So like the airline would still make the same amount of money, but less people would be flying, so they would need smaller planes.
So there are two things there. First one, maybe you saw one of the commercials of KLM, which is called Fly Sustainably. And here, Peter Ebers was quite clear on the fact that when you want to fly, be sure that it's needed for you to fly. I gave a press interview to KMU magazine, and I said, all the meetings, the 2 hours meetings where you need to take a flight to go there, it's almost over. I mean, something has changed in the way people think about flying. When you need to go somewhere, that's the first step. Do you need to go? Second thing, if you need to go, then how do you need to go? Here we are also actively shifting air transport by train transport where it makes sense also for the customers. For example, we are shifting the Brussels Amsterdam from air to train, so it will be the same product, but you won't take a flight to go from Brussels to Amsterdam and then connect to the world. You will take the train. So we are also pushing this to fly more sustainably. But again, we have to keep in mind, why is there air travel? And it's not only to go on holidays far away. It's also for a lot of our traffic is also for people to connect with their business and also with their family, and that's quite key. I mean, why did the air transport benefit from the international conference at the end of the Second World War? And what do we see when there is no more air link? It's basically because we strongly believe that we need to connect people, activities, businesses, and families together in the world. So yes, we need to do it sustainably. We are actively doing it by promoting other ways of transportation. We also do it by pushing for the fleet renewal to reduce our footprint. And the third way, which also goes in your direction, is the fact that we, as we commit to use more sustainable aviation fuel, maybe I didn't talk too much about it for the moment, but that's also the second pillar of our sustainability path. And this one is really important because basically you have kerosene. Basically, it's made of crude oil that you retrieve from either fracking or oil fields in the production countries like Russia, Saudi Arabia, and many more, United States. And here the idea is to replace this by kerosene, a fuel, an aviation fuel that is made of reused material and basically biomass, cooking oil that is already used, or feedstock, or agrarian feedstock, those kind of things, and then we compute it into a new sustainable aviation fuel. And this one, the interest of this is that it's a drop-in, so you can put it same as the kerosene. You can put it in your aircraft. It has the same properties. It has been certified to have the same propeller properties, so no issue with security. But its footprint in its overall life cycle is minus 75% less than kerosene, and that's where we want to go. And to go for that, to supply our flights, we took the decision beginning of the year to put 0.5%. It might be very small, but it's a step. It's a first step. 0.5% of our fuel is sustainable aviation fuel when you take a flight out of Netherlands or France. And the idea is to gradually grow this share from 0.5% to 2%, then 3, then 5, then 10. That's the idea of where we want to go. And for that, we also say upfront to our customers, we said it very transparently, it's expensive. It's more expensive to put sustainable aviation fuel than normal kerosene. It's 6 to 8 times more expensive. That's for the moment what we see. But we still want to go for it. And for that, we put an automatical contribution in our tickets, meaning that part of our fare, depending of where you fly and in which cabin you fly, so the price will not be the same in economy if you go from Geneva or Zurich to Amsterdam, or if you fly from Amsterdam to Los Angeles in first class. But the idea is to have a small contribution for each ticket via Paris or Amsterdam. So it will be a bit more expensive indeed, but we say transparently why it's more expensive.
Well, those are actually all my questions. Thank you for your time thank you for making some time for this interview, and yeah.
It was a pleasure, but if you had 2 points that you kept from this meeting, what would it be?
Probably that biofuel is more expensive, and that KLM Air France is really good at they're. How do I say this? KLM Air France is really trying to go closer and closer to net zero, which I think is really good. And yeah.
We have a clear target. As an industry, it's not only Air France KLM, I'm fully transparent on that. It's really as an industry that we want to go. We are out of the Paris Agreement. That's something for all industry except air transport. And the Paris Agreement is looking at net zero for 2050. The idea is that as an industry on the side with IATA, we decided still to go and have the same target to net zero by 2050. But we also want, before that, in 2030, to reduce our CO2 consumption per passengers by minus 50%. So we want to have an intermediate also target, not to discover everything like in 2049 and say, oh, it's very hard to say. No, we want to go there gradually and starting the effort is starting today, not in 2049.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good afternoon, and I hope you'll have a